mean, the challenge with the quarantine was to make sure I don't drop too much music, because like we were saying, nothing really changed. Like the only thing that was different before quarantine, I worked like 3 days a week. I worked in a restaurant. You know, I cooked this, that, and the third, like as a way to supplement. So it's like now, like with that, like kind of out of the equation, the main challenge in quarantine was not to oversaturate, because like I've been on go like this, but it's only because I don't do too much else. Like I wasn't really doing other shit for fun. I sat down, I made beats, I rap, I do this, that, and the third. So it's like, so far this year, I dropped 6 tapes. If I didn't have like, 2 being EPs, you know what I'm saying? But if I didn't have something else to like try to like slow me down. And also, like we was talking about creative blocks on the last topic. If it's hard to produce shit if there's nothing actually going on in life. You know what I'm saying? At least for me, like I gotta do shit. Like, I gotta kind of like sometimes take little breaks to live in between. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's certain things that just like come to you just like in the midst of living, So when that's not going on, that kind of slows down the input too. And, as somebody who's like putting words together, you want to make sure that you have some type of variation going on, so you're not repeating the same exact words. You know what I'm saying? So the only challenges with quarantine is just kind of like, something that was good for me is trying to like teach me how to better my pacing. Like, I don't think I have a bad pace, but my pace could be adjusted. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to, just put songs out, drop a bunch of songs, make a bunch of songs because you like to do it. But I actually want to try to like focus a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something I've been working on. Yeah, that too. And I want to figure out like, well, I just like, like I peep game, like I learn from some of my peers and shit, but like try to figure out like, rollouts. Like, it's like I got a core enough, like I know for a fact I had a core enough for a long enough time to be able to drop something, and there's a certain amount of people who are always going to be in tune, but I just don't always want to keep playing to the same exact crowd. Like, obviously little by little, we grab people from here, there, and all that, but I'm trying to like make sure that I'm reaching, at this point, I want to make sure I'm trying to reach new people, go outside of my bounds, do like things that, you do what you always do, you're going to get what you always got. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to, I just go back to the drawing board every once in a while. Like, mind you, I'm not like disappointed in everything I'm doing, but I'm always just trying to get a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Well, I think the crazy thing, especially when it comes from like working from home, like every project's kind of like a time capsule. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could go back to all of those projects and know exactly where I was at in my life. So like if you want to, they're all kind of memorable to a certain extent, but like specifically working on Long May We Reign, that album was going on like in the midst of all the protests that were going on in Seattle. I currently live in Seattle. I'm from East Harlem. I live in Seattle. And during that time, like it got to the point that I felt like I was seeing a lot of performative protesting, like a lot of people who were just out there trying to like, trying to protest for the camera and trying to do this, that, and the third. A lot of people that, as far as I'm concerned, like, first and foremost, shout outs to all people, all types of people who was actually down to like stand up for something that was right. But there were certain people that I was just like, I didn't really want to be in the midst of this shit. So I kind of was working on that during that time period. That was like my way of kind of like giving my 2 cents on the situation, like how I felt about it, even though like, nothing's new. None of this shit is new. It's not new under the sun. This shit's been going on since time immemorial. You feel me? But it's also like with songs like The Plane and the song Quick, like, you know how it is, man. Like, I remember, especially with those self-produced albums, I remember building every single song from scratch. And that one track, The Plane, like people always ask me about the instrumental. Yo, what's the sample? What's the sample? I'm not going to sample snitch, but it's like if people's ears were like where they should be, they realize that shit's been sampled a million fucking times. Like that sample, like it's the flip is different, but it's like that sample is on YouTube somewhere with 3 million views, and which is a lot for me, because it's like if I'm looking at a video, I'm like, yo, this shit got 3 million views. I'm not going to sample it because there's a chance that 40, like coincidentally, all the great minds, people already sampled it. So I just try to stay away from that shit. I try to look for like, yo, this might got, like, if we're not talking about records, you know what I'm saying? Like if we're not, even though I don't really shop from records too much, but I'm like, yo, you see views and shit, I'm like, yo, this got 500,000 views. That's too much for me. But like The Plane, I was hearing that song, which I'm not going to say, bro, I'm sure you'd be able to find it. You probably heard that shit sampled a million times. But it's like, I had that loop in my head for a week. I listened to that song. I had the loop before I looped it. I was singing that shit over and over and over in my head. And I was like, that's the type of shit that I'm looking for when I'm making tracks, yo. Because it's like, you make songs, you make a lot of songs. You don't want to get your shit lost in your own shuffle. It's this shit that when you make it, the memorable studio moments, so when you make it, you can't stop playing it.
You know what I'm saying? The moment it's done, it's like, shit, again, 30 minutes past. That's the keeper. You know what I'm saying? And if I could, and going back talking about being more focused on tracks, when it comes to me trying to make beats, look for beats, I need to do that. I want to feel like when it's time for me to drop a track, I did that 10 times. I mean, a project, I did that 10 times. I had that shit that run back. I need 10 of those next time. It's not going to be like, yo, I fuck with this song. Everything, you got to love everything. I got to love this shit every single time. So that's the standard that I'm trying to keep myself up to going forward. I'm not saying I did it before, but it's like, you know, your standards change over time. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know shit. You know what I'm saying?